And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for October 15th. No tropical storms active today, but we have 3 depressions that are still going right now. Norbert in the eastern Pacific looks like it's dying off. A tropical depression has made it onto the western coast of India now, and Ofel, which moved through the Philippines, now in the South China Sea, still only named locally, and 2 remnant lows from previous cyclones, Delta being one of them, now way up into Atlantic Canada, and somewhat dubious as to whether it's related to that storm anymore now or not, and 5 other areas of interest, all at very low chances at the moment. I did say this was going to happen. We'd have a mass of systems that would look awful, and only 1 or 2 would probably end up forming. In the eastern Pacific, Norbert there off the Baja California Peninsula is really dying off, could still produce some significant rainfall along the coast there, and nothing else out there in the Pacific. In the western Pacific then, Ofel, which is moving through the South China Sea, could still become a tropical storm before reaching Vietnam. 20% chances, which are quite uncertain right now. And the remnants of Chan Hom still fighting, and a little bit of convection from that system in the last few hours. In the Indian Ocean, a tropical depression is moving off the western coast of India now. It wasn't named by the Indian Meteorological Department. Still a small chance that it could get a storm status in the Arabian Sea. And now looking at the satellite imagery, you can see the Atlantic taking shape then, all of these little systems. The wave is obviously the most prominent one, now just about to move through the Lesser Antilles. Also that area that's just moved off the African coast. Small chances on all of these systems. Chances will increase for cyclone formation later in the week though, especially when we watch the Central Caribbean, which models have been pumping up for quite some time, could be a significant hurricane threat. The eastern Pacific then, you can see there on the right hand side of the picture, Norbert, which lost steam quite radically just in the last few frames there, and you can see associated with it significant amounts of rainfall, but it is diminishing now along the Baja California Peninsula. Now in the western Pacific, you can see quite a mess really, but a train of moisture at least, nothing that's getting itself too organised. Ofel being the latest tropical cyclone that's not become particularly strong after Nanka moved through into Vietnam yesterday. It's just about died off well inland now, and more systems could develop behind these two. The South Pacific looking fairly quiet as you would expect at this time of year, with significant rainfall moving away from the Solomon Islands now. Looks like it's southern Vanuatu and New Caledonia. And in the Indian Ocean, you can see still massive amounts of convection from that system moving off the western coast of India. It will likely linger out there in the Arabian Sea for a little while before dissipating in 3 or 4 days. Sea surface temperatures then off the East Pacific, the western coast of Mexico that is, 30 degrees plus, the Gulf of California very warm, could still see late season activity there, but out in the open ocean most likely we'll see nothing at all. The Atlantic then, the northern Gulf, hopefully in the clear now, temperatures dropping away thankfully. The Caribbean though, and the Gulf Stream off the US East Coast not looking so good. Still warm sea surface temperatures, could support another significant hurricane, 28 degrees plus. The Indian Ocean very warm as well, generally 28 degrees Celsius, and warming up now in the southern hemisphere as well. We could see little rumblings of 1 or 2 cyclones there pretty soon. The western Pacific still remaining very warm, 30 degrees, very common in the Philippine Sea and off the western coast of the Philippines as well into the South China Sea, but the Philippine Sea remains warmest, so if we're looking for any big typhoons towards the late season, it's going to happen there, and the window will probably open in about a week or 2. Looking at sea surface temperatures then, you can see there warm anomalies in the western Pacific in general. Eastern Pacific dominated by the La Nina, which could continue to grow throughout this winter. And in the North Atlantic there, you can see generally above average conditions, particularly in the places that matter at this time of year. That's the Caribbean Sea and the coast of the United States. On October 15th, 1954, Hazel was demonstrating that by making a Category 4 landfall on the US East Coast in the Carolinas. A massive hurricane that's still remembered today, of course. Olga was also a Category 4 typhoon in the Western Pacific, recurving though harmlessly out to sea, and Tropical Depression 2S had formed in the South Indian Ocean, and it would become a tropical storm in the next day or two. It can happen a little bit early in that part of the world. So the next name in an unstoppable Atlantic hurricane season is Epsilon, followed by Zeta. Who'd have thought we'd be saying that at the start of the year? Right up with 2005's record. In the Eastern Pacific, Odalis is next. In the Central Pacific, the next name is Hone. In the Western Pacific, we'll be looking out for Sordell now. It could still be Ofel that gets Sordell's name as well, internationally recognized, followed by Malawi. In the North Indian Ocean, the next name in the Indian Ocean is Gati. That could be that system that's just emerged off the west coast of India as well. The Southern Hemisphere then, Imogen is next in the Australian region. The Southwest Indian Ocean starts with Alicia, and the South Pacific begins this season with Yolanda. That's all for now. We're back with another tropical weather bulletin tomorrow night.